Hello and welcome to another episode of Rico'S Rants. I'm your host, Rico DiGiorgio. So I got to talk about a movie I literally just finished watching. Just turned it off 5 seconds ago. So let's get the camera adjusted. Oh man, I'm still crying. I'm still like wiping away tears. It is such a beautiful film, and it really at the same time is cliched, but it's so well acted that I was mesmerized. The film is Wonder. Uh, Currently a Oscar nominee this year, 2018. Let me adjust the camera just a little bit. Sorry, guys, bear with me. Let's move this book over here and unplug that. There we go. So, whoa, back. Okay, so Wonder. Now, we had got this at work, and I had no fucking clue what this was about. And at first I was like, okay, I hear it's cute. I hear it's this. I hear it's that. But otherwise, I had only maybe seen like one trailer. And I remember kind of being like, that looks interesting. But at the same time, I'm not a fan of Owen Wilson. I'm not a fan of Julia Roberts. And they play the parents of this kid, Augie. But I did really enjoy, hi Dino, I did really enjoy Jacob Tremblay, um, the kid from the movie Room. Not The Room with Brie Larson. The kid in that, I thought, wow, this kid just fucking appeared out of nowhere. So I was like, I'm gonna pay attention to this kid. He knows at such a young age, he knows how to um, emit such a wide range of emotion, especially in Room, which is all over the place. So Wonder is about this kid, Augie, who was born disfigured, and they don't specify what the disfigurement is and what the issue is. We don't see what he looks like as a baby, but we see him being born, and we see the nurses run out with him. And I mean, then it shows the progression of him at 10 years old, and his face is kind of mismatched and deformed, but it looked like he had had a lot of plastic surgery. And they specified he'd gone through 23 plastic surgeries. Now, I'm still, I'm sorry, I'm still very emotional. Dino, you're in the way, dude. You gotta lay. There we go. Lay down. Very good. You're still gonna be in frame, but that's okay. Now, not to spoil the whole film, but in some ways it is predictable because it is sort of the classic story that we've seen with something like Jack with Robin Williams, Mask with Eric Stoltz, where it's a kid with a problem facing school. And in this case, this kid, Augie, has such a disfigurement. He had been homeschooled his whole life. And it's not just about him, which I really appreciate. He has an older sister, he's got a mom, he's got a dad. And the movie very much focuses on him. But there are these pseudo chapters where all of a sudden it says the character's name in black. And we sort of focus on that character for a little bit. So Augie is starting his first day of school, and he's given three kids. The principal had basically asked three kids, three very different kids, to give him a tour. One of them is a rich kid named Julian. And the other is a small girl who just constantly talks about how she's an actress and how she auditioned for Broadway, how she was in commercials. And then there's the other kid, Jack, or Jack Will is what they keep referring to. Like they always say his first and middle name together, or just Jack. And he's just basically a nice kid. And they all kind of give him a tour, and the rich kid, Julian, bullies him, blah, blah, blah. And we find out yeah, school's hard. It takes him a little bit to get used to going to school, and he gets teased by Julian frequently. Um, but what I love is that he has such a rich imagination. And I kept thinking about the character Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes. And I have Calvin and Hobbes inked on my arm. I'm a big fan of Calvin and Hobbes. And Calvin has a rich imagination where he looks at something and sees, like, he'll look at his teacher and see a giant alien slug beast thing, and how he's a spaceman is running away from her. In a weird way, Augie is the disfigured but more sensitive and less troublemaking Calvin. Just as much of a rich imagination. And he imagines himself as a spaceman. He loves sci-fi, and to sort of deal with going outside, sometimes he'll wear a astronaut's helmet. And that's sort of the poster, is this kid wearing an astronaut's helmet, holding his parents' hands, and he's in the middle. That's the poster. And how eventually, he obviously he can't wear the helmet at school, so he's forced to kind of deal with the world. And on top of that, his dad, played by Owen Wilson, hides the astronaut helmet, sort of pushing him um, to just keep going. And there are some lot of bad days. There's a day where on Halloween it's his favorite holiday because he can wear a mask, and everyone wears masks, and he doesn't have to hide. He can just have fun. He overhears his friend Jack, and they had become friends, sort of talking to Julian and saying, "Oh well, I just did it. I'm just friends with him because the principal asked me to. And if I looked like him, I'd kill myself." And he didn't expect Augie to be standing behind him in a different costume than what he told him he was going to be wearing, so he didn't know it was him listening. So they stopped being friends for a little bit, and then he makes a friend with a girl who just pities him and just wants someone who's nice. And despite the fact that he's disfigured, he is just a nice kid, and he's smart. Oh God. Now the thing is, school sucks. If you can look fondly at school, whether it's elementary school or middle school or high school, you were, in my book, abnormal. If you didn't like it, that was normal. I didn't like school, and I tried very hard to go to school all the time. And because of my headaches and the fact I couldn't catch up, I had to drop out. But I also, even if I didn't have migraines or headaches or whatever, I was bullied a lot. In a lot of ways, even though I wasn't actually disfigured, I felt disfigured. I looked in the mirror and I saw a disfigurement, and we all do. Um, but it's hard. It's hard to go through. It's hard to be thrust into a school, being surrounded by other people who don't know you, may not like you, and all you want is to be liked. All you really want is to be accepted and to make friends, and have your crush blossom into a relationship or something, to stand out in a play, to ace your tests. We all want to flourish. We all want to do better. But the worst thing about school, and the worst thing about having very low self-esteem, are the motherfucking bullies. And that this movie touches a lot about. I mean, I was crying a lot because it just brought back a lot of flashbacks of being told you're ugly, being told you're stupid, being told you're short, being told this, being told that, and all you want to do is just get through the day, complete your work, get through it, kiss the girl, ace your test, all that shit. And it really touched a really good moment where Julian, the rich kid who bullies Augie a lot, gets caught finally. The principal basically confronts him and his parents in his office and says, I have all these notes, I have everything that Augie has saved is what you've done, and we're going to suspend you. And the parents, very upper class, rich people, you could tell that he made a mistake, and he knows he made a mistake because he was caught. But now he feels bad. He realized it was wrong. But his parents, they don't care. They say, well, the kid is ugly. Why should we have to, force our son to be friends with someone he doesn't want to like because the kid has a disfigurement? And even worse, the mother in particular had taken they had the school photo, and she had digitally deleted the kid Augie from the school photo so she could hang it on her wall proudly and not have people come by and be like, who's that kid? They want them to ask about that kid, her son. I don't think anyone is born a bully. Not that I can really think of. Bullies are made, whether it's they're bullied by their own parents or by other people, or it's from neglect. And I see this happening a lot, and I've seen this happening over the years, and unfortunately, bullies will never really die. That's the unfortunate thing. To prove my point, Donald Trump bullied his way into the White House. I mean, Russia helped, but he definitely got where he was through being a bully, being an upper class, rich bully. And I'm not trying to make the whole thing political, but it's not just him, it's everybody. There are bullies everywhere in the world. And it sucks. It sucks for someone who has low self esteem. It sucks for someone who has a good heart, who just wants to get through the day and be better. So, yeah, in many ways, I relate to this film. It's got a lot of beautiful parts. And like I said, it focuses on all these different characters, but always kind of centers back on Augie, because Augie is influencing all these people, whether he's aware of it or not. And I don't say this often, but Julia Roberts did a good job in this. Um, I hadn't really been impressed with her acting since Pretty Woman, since I mean, she was entertaining in Ocean's 11. I was never a big fan of her. Pretty Woman's great. Erin Brockovich is great, but I never particularly liked her. I liked her in this because I got the feeling that she was a mom that was trying to do everything. She had a lot of baggage, and it is said, Dino, stop biting me. It is said very plainly that when her son was born, her life stopped because a whole running theme is that she had never finished her thesis. She wanted to be she wants to be a children's book illustrator and author, and she just had to give it up to raise Augie and to homeschool him. And then throughout the film, now that Augie is able to go to school and sort of grow up on his own, her life finally resumes. They don't really focus too much on Owen Wilson's character, the dad. They really don't. I mean, he's there to kind of crack a smile and a joke. Personally, Owen Wilson's another one I could just. They could have. Owen Wilson didn't make the role special for me. He had a nice moment, but he's basically playing his wow kind of role that he just does in every fucking movie that I've ever seen him in. He's just there. He fills the role fine, but he's not spectacular. They could have cast anyone else, and I could have expected a better range from someone else. The actress who played the older sister, Via, I don't know who the actress is. She was also very impressive because she loves her brother. She views him as he doesn't want any of this staring and teasing. He just wants to live a normal life, and she understands that, and she has made the ultimate sacrifice of letting her parents pay more attention to her younger brother than herself. She had to grow up. She had to She takes the bus, at like 13 to school by herself. She does her grades by, she does her work and gets really good grades by herself. Her mom and dad never had to help her because she knew that, as she puts it in the film, they didn't need one more thing to worry about. And that's hard on a kid. I mean, 14. I mean, people expect a lot from 14-year-olds. 14-year-olds don't know what the fuck they're doing. I didn't. No, the irony is we all think we do. We all think 14, I know what I'm talking about. I know. 14 is just an idea of being like, I'm 2 years away from 16, which means I could drive, which means I'm an adult, which means I'm 18, which means I'm 30. I'm a man. I'm a woman. I know what I'm doing. You're 14. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But at the same time, it doesn't help to tell a 14-year-old they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Yeah, so it focuses on the friend, it focuses on the sister, it focuses on Anki, it focuses on a lot of these people. And everyone is interesting. But Augie obviously is interesting, is more interesting. And what I loved, I was talking about his imagination earlier. He imagines himself in a astronaut outfit, like floating through the halls. When he has a really good day, he's jumping and floating like he's lightweight. That he has no baggage pulling him down to the earth. He could float. He could fly. And there's a couple fucking amazing parts where he's outside the courtyard. He said, "Courtyard's my least favorite time of the day because," and he's narrating, because the whole school is out there and they all can look at me, and they're not trying to be mean, but they all kind of glance, look away, and then glance again. And he says it's hard, but he said, I understand if Chewbacca started, is had his first day of school, everyone would stare at him too. And then as he's saying that, the front doors of the school open up, and there's fucking Chewie. And it straight up looks like Chewie from fucking Star Wars. Like, it doesn't look like a shitty costume. It looks like the authentic, um, actual makeup and suit and hair, and he growls. And Augie goes up to him and says, I'm sorry if my staring upset you. And they hold hands and walk into school together. Like, this kid's who, I mean, I know it's based on a book, and now I actually want to read the book. I'm kind of blown away. Um, but on some levels, as a film, it is beautiful, and I did cry, and I did love the acting for the most part. Some of it is predictable. Some of it you know it's going to happen, and sometimes what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. Like, I caught up, and then it just, like, he made a friend who was a girl. At one point, I'm thinking like she's going to be his first kiss. Didn't happen. That was kind of surprising. Okay. What I like is that it reminds you that things that you expect to happen in life sometimes happen. And just like in life, what you think is going to happen doesn't always happen. Is this a go out and get it and see it movie? I mean, no. It is not a go out and fucking see this movie. It's a go out and fucking see this movie if you really care about the Oscars. I do kind of feel like this is kind of pushed for an Oscar film. Like, you can tell, okay, they made this because it's Oscar season. That's what I think. Is it a watch it? For sure. Definitely. It's a definitely watch it. But you can watch it at home. I wouldn't, you don't, if this was coming out in theaters, I would be like, oh yeah, that looks kind of good. Not like, oh fuck, I really want to see this movie. Especially because of Owen and Julia. That would be my, I could see this being a movie my mom really wants me to see, and I have to go, and I'll go to the movies with her. This is very much a movie that you see with your mother. If your mother is like my mother. My mother would fucking cry this entire movie, I promise you. But then again, so did I. On that note, wonder is wonderful. And don't be a bully. Night, guys.